Welcome to the show. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Bernard. It's always good to see you.
How are you doing?
Not too bad. And you?
I'm well.
Yeah, it's good to come back to the studio.
To the studio?
Yeah.
How hectic has your schedule been as a presidential candidate campaigning?
You know, I've been in this game for quite some time, and I enjoy doing it because I'm driven by the motivation to serve the people. You know, so there's a sense in which you feel content with what you're doing, and that in itself inspires you. So it's going very well.
But how grueling it is? Is it what kind of schedule do you work with in terms of, like, if you go on a tour?
You see, when I came out of the NPP and I decided to go on my own, my sense was that, look, if it's worth doing this, then try and get a sense of how the ordinary person feels about your potential candidature. And I felt that the best place to feel the pulse of the nation was in the markets. Because when you go to the market, unlike the traditional way of campaigning, busing people, organizing, you can't bus people to the market. And when you get into the market, that's where you get to understand the psyche and the psychology of the people and how they feel about the economy, so on and so forth. So I decided that I'll brave it and then launch my campaign through the markets. And it's been great. It just shows the extent to which people organically feel that I can make a difference to their life. Because there you can't go and do this normal politics, And so every market that we've been to, it's been the same thing.
Do they ask you questions? Do you do rallies? How does it work?
No, you do a walkthrough, and as you walk through, you the comments will people will make, and look, I can tell you very few political figures can have the courage to walk through the market and be cheered. You see, because it's either they will hoot at you, or they will keep quiet, or they will cheer you up. And in my case, from north to south, east and west, it has all been ecstatic, organic love. And I feel so grateful to God that this is really the case, because I hadn't actually come out. But for me to come out and have that kind of reception from the ordinary people, it's really...
But it's not just because, Alan, you are good looking, tall man, walking through the market men are giving you funds. So I'm sure your team is wondering, will all these translate into votes? No, because these are funds.
No, you see, but the thing, and when you talk about markets, you're talking about women.
Yes.
So whether it is funds based on A, B, or C, the point is that they are showing love and appreciation of the fact that they want you to be there for them. So there's no need for me to try and understand why they ecstatic about me being there. And if women do that, that finally to translate to votes. Because as for women, if this is what they want to do, they will show it right from the beginning.
But do you get a chance to ask them?
Oh yes, I interact with them.
And what did they tell you?
So two things. First is that the conditions in which they sell, is so deplorable, and they don't even need to convince me about that, because you can feel that. I mean, this kind of environment, it's certainly so inappropriate for our mothers, our sisters to be trading. It's so bad. I can tell you, almost every market. And I've been wondering that, and I've consistently made a case when I was with President Kufuor, and then that government needs to invest in market infrastructure. Because can you imagine, if we don't have markets, how would people get food? Are we going to go to the farms? Are we going to go to the factories? So I think that it's very important. The first challenge is the market infrastructure. The second is about the fact that the prices of goods are so high. because they are selling, and obviously they think that they want to have good business. But if the prices are high, then they have a challenge. Thirdly, the people are not buying. You see, so they are worried that if you go and sit in the market, you are selling plantain or onions for a whole day. If you only have 10 cedis of your commodity or product being bought, you are in big trouble, because Bernard, you are lucky. People live by the day in this country. When they go to the market, is what they earn. That's what they use to keep the family going. So if they go to the market and they don't make enough, I can tell you, maybe they will not eat.
So they are telling you three things: the state of the market,
yes,
the price of the food items, and what they are selling, and then people not buying. Do you inquire from them why prices are so high? Yesterday I was listening to a man from Tamale who said he went to the market and one piece of tomato was 4 cedis.
Yes, it's as bad as that.
And then he said when you go to buy okro, you're talking about Tamale market, they count the okro for you.
Oh, but it's as bad as that.
So what's the have you inquired to understand why particularly food prices are so high these days?
Well, I can tell you why that is happening. Obviously, they are always surprised. They complain. But it's for us who understand how the system works to explain why that is happening. Number one, it's about food inflation. When you talk about food inflation, is the rate at which prices are rising. And the biggest component of inflation in Ghana is food inflation. And food inflation comes about when production is low, and you cannot then have the benefit of economies of scale. Because if you are producing, let's say, 1 acre of maize, the unit cost will be, let's say, 1 cedi per olonga. Now, if you multiply your production by 10 times, so now you are producing from 10 acres, then obviously the unit cost will come down. So it's about expanding agricultural production and productivity. We've been engaged in smallholder farming literally all our lives. Whilst that is good for what I would describe as subsistence farming, and just to feed ourselves, when you want to reduce the costs of food generally, it has to be commercial farming. The small-scale farming is good. There's no doubt about that. But there's no evidence of any country anywhere in the world that has been able to succeed with their efforts at food security by just having small-scale.
Planting for food and jobs failed?
No, I think that the model
supposed to be.
Yes, no, you are right.
What you are saying.
The model could have been improved. I feel that the initial emphasis on smallholder farming was understandable, because you can't just jump into commercial farming. But there needed to have been a much faster transition, to commercial farming. And this is not either or. They are not mutually exclusive. But to focus only on smallholder farming, as I keep on saying, ain't gonna happen.
So
you need to combine the two.
So under your plan, you're going to have large-scale farms?
Large-scale farms, and the model is so beautiful, because it says that, look, government only needs to provide the incentives for mass participation in agriculture. The first thing is for government to support the establishment of what we call agro parks. What that means is that government, working with the traditional authorities, would facilitate the acquisition of large tracts of land, 10,000 hectares. And within that 10,000 hectares, government then supports irrigation, supports the construction of processing factories. This is all by the private sector. All these things I'm talking about, government is only facilitating by providing incentives. And then at the same time also provides inputs. So you have in an enclave, which this agro park provides, you have large tracts of land, you have irrigation facilities, you have mechanized services. So if you, Bernard Avle, decides that you want to go and buy land in the Agro Park, you take maybe 10 acres, but then it is serviced land. When you go there, it's not now that you are going to worry about rain-fed agriculture, because it's supported by irrigation. And then also there's processing, a cluster of processing plants. So it's all integrated within an enclave. You don't travel with your raw material to another destination to go and do the processing. So that is the first component of this new agricultural revolution, to promote large-scale commercial farming.
Where are the lands for this?
Oh, land.
Have you identified specific places?
They are. I mean, I've been working with the Ministry of Agriculture as Minister for Trade for a long time. The administrations, and the traditional authorities are so keen on collaborating to provide these large tracts of land. But Bernard, when you go around the country, which I know you do, all the land that you see around, are you asking me where is this land?
I'm asking. No, I'm not asking.
Oh no, I understand. No.
Whether, for example, some people say Afram Plains is a very good place for breadbasket. Some people have mentioned different places.
Yes.
What I'm asking is, have you selected specific places to start this?
Yes. So we call them agricultural ecological zones.
Okay.
So, for example, Afram Plains will be an ideal ecological zone for an agro park, but for certain crops. It will be different from, let's say, in the Bono and Bono East regions, and then in the north, you could have agro parks that might be focusing on tubers or on grains. Okay. So, but I just wanted us to reinforce this point about large-scale commercial farming through the establishment of agro parks. Okay. Number two is mass citizen participation in agriculture. The beauty of what...
So like Operation Feed Yourself.
Operation Feed Yourself. But you see, the concept of Operation Feed Yourself was for you to feed yourself. So that's why the focus was on gardening, back of the house garden. But the new agricultural revolution that I'm preaching now is talking about Operation Own a Farm. So every citizen will be encouraged to own a commercial farm. So that's the difference. It is scaling up what Operation Feed Yourself was able to achieve. So can you imagine where either you have access to family land or not, that at least there will be an interest now for every Ghanaian to have a farm. If you go to Botswana, you find that because of this same kind of program, every Botswana citizen owns some cattle, because that has been the campaign there. And it's no wonder that they are they are one of the leading producers of high quality beef. These things don't happen by chance. It has to be a government policy that will trigger interest by the citizens. The other component of this is working with faith-based organizations, churches, and to actually go into large-scale commercial farming. See, these churches and other faith-based organizations, they have such an interesting capacity for organization and management. And once government supports them to get into large-scale farming, it will happen. Then the other component of this mass participation is with schools. I don't know whether you realize that many years back you had school farms, large-scale school farms. So it's not just the agro parks, it's not just this mass citizen participation, but it is also a question of now making sure that research and innovation into enhancing agricultural productivity is also commercialized. There are seed varieties that, frankly, remain on the shelves of our institutions without farmers benefiting from that. So as part of our model for agriculture, for our new agricultural revolution, government is going to support the establishment of a research company, commercial company, that will now bring all research, agricultural related research, into the private sector. Because if you leave it with the research institutions, somehow the transition never occurs. So these are all the last but not the least. With enhanced agricultural production, you have to have a more efficient and effective distribution, marketing and distribution system. So you remember, just a last point on, you remember the Ghana Food Distribution Company. That was an excellent marketing and distribution strategy. However, because it was driven by government, it was not sustainable. So our model now is to have private sector food and marketing distribution company. In Ashanti region, there was one popular one called Ash Foods, Ashanti Foods. So basically what they do is to mop up and mobilize and buy food from all over, and then bring them to the market. Yes.
There's no question that agriculture is very key in transformation, because we know that industrialization for a country like Ghana requires for inputs.
Component,
So there's no problem there. But I have two questions for you.
Okay.
There seems to be low interest among young people in agriculture. If you go to most of our communities, particularly in the forest areas, people are giving out their land for mining. So cocoa farms are being pillaged by galamseyers, and a lot of people are selling their lands to galamseyers. That's number one. Number two, you go to a lot of communities and young people prefer to even do betting than to go to farm. So what's your plan to get people interested in actually going into agriculture?
So it's about first is the policy orientation and the political will to make sure that the right policies are in place to attract the young people. As I say, it's not going to happen by chance. All the things that I've talked to you about right now, that is the kind of policy framework that we think would excite young people, because this government is actively facilitating the involvement of citizens. Now, before I left government, I introduced what was called Enable Youth One District, One Factory initiatives. And what I did was that, exactly as you said, how do I attract young people to participate in the 1D1F program? So I put together groups of young people in various communities, let's say 40 to 50 people. The government helps them to set up a company. This is not cooperative. A company, a limited liability company. And then government provided seed money for them to acquire the equipment. This is not small micro business. This is medium scale agro processing companies, but owned by the young people, facilitated by government. So we provide the seed capital for them to acquire the equipment. Then we provide working capital. And then apart from that, we also provide access to management support. So we invited management services companies now to become the management team for this company. And we've been able to establish 58 youth-owned One District, One Factory companies. Now, if you have such an arrangement, you finish school, you don't have work, and you have an opportunity to be part of a company that you own, and it's a major processing company, why would you not be interested? Would you want to abandon such an opportunity and try to be finding work or sit at home? So it depends on the formula or the business model. And I'm saying that I have demonstrated that it can work.
The other question is, most Ghanaians, I'm not sure Ghanaians are concerned about the salience of your ideas. The ideas may sound good because Ghanaian politicians are very good at telling us what they want to do. I think the problem with
Mine is different.
The problem citizens have with our duty bearers is the ability to implement what they say they want to do.
Yes.
So, for example, planting for food and jobs seems like a great idea on paper.
Yeah.
The results are at best checkered.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I think the question to you is why should people believe that you have the people to implement this? Because it's not just the idea. The idea doesn't implement itself.
Yeah.
Do you have people of proven track record and integrity to actually implement some of these ideas you are?
So the first thing with execution is with the leadership. If you as a leader, you come out with, let's say, a policy or a program, you have to check your record. What is your own capacity for execution and delivery? You see, because it's not a question of, let's say, putting everybody in the same basket, or the politicians just talk. If you audit the background of the people who make claims that they can do A, B, C, D, you know those who have a record of execution and those who not. And my record is clear. This is, way before I came into government, that I have a superlative record of performance, execution. During President, the results and the outcome. If during President Kufuor's time, I know we won't have the opportunity to talk about it. One of the most successful agro-industrial initiatives was the presidential special initiatives. And this is not just talking about but execution. But you want us to go into that? I'm ready.
Because it's also about sustainability.
But you see, but sustainability, that's not the issue.
Impressive things.
Yes, of course, but everybody knows that. So that's number one. If you talk about sustainability, then you are bringing the issue of, let's say, how did the NDC follow up on the PSIs? Because the reason why I'm still campaigning to be president is because I want to change our political system where there is no continuity in the execution of projects. As soon as you leave beautiful ideas about PSIs, NDC comes and it's a different.
But even when the NPP came, they didn't go back to it.
Well, but
it was a great. Why did NPP take? Because you were trade minister. Why didn't you?
But I got it back. You see,
PSI was a different.
But you see, if you hear about one district, one factory, it's the same thing. I started that under President Kufuor, but it was under a different brand. Everything that I've done I did during President, it's all a question of rebranding, repackaging. I don't.
So let me get this right. 1D1F is PSI rebranded.
Even going beyond that, you see, during President Kufuor's time, apart from the PSI, you see, the PSIs were new strategic industries, 4 of them: garments and textiles, oil palm, industrial salt, and then industrial starch from cassava. At that time, I was preaching that if Ghana can only concentrate on these 4 sectors, will transform the economy. So these were new strategic pillars of growth, like cocoa, diversifying the economy. Now, but that was different from what I called at that time district industrialization program, where I said that, look, every district, at that time we had 110 districts. Let us develop 3 industries for every district. It was 110. Before I left office, I had prepared 330 business plans. That's 3 projects for each district.
This was before you left as
Kufuor's trade minister. 330 business plans. So that if Bernard Ableh wanted to do something in his district, you come. There are 3 projects already packaged. All you need is to now take it up, and then government will support you. Now, as soon as we left office, did you hear about this ever from the NDC? So you cannot blame Alan for the sustainability of it. But because you wanted to know about it. So that's number one.
The 1D1F was not necessarily new. At least the understanding of 1D1F was that even existing industries sort of being revamped was all grouped under that. So it wasn't like the new. So I'm not sure it was the 300 business cases you made that were translated into 1D1F.
No. Maybe you've not
the idea.
You've not understood. You wanted to know.
Yeah.
whether what I did previously, the PSIs, was the same as one. And I'm trying to explain to you. Yes. Now, so there were the PSIs,
and then the
district industrialization program. Now, when we came into office this time, I've rebranded the two. The PSIs have now transitioned into the 10 new strategic anchor industries. At that time, it was 4. Now, I scaled this up to 10. And now it's rebranded not as PSIs, but new strategic anchor industries, under which now I started the vehicle assembly business.
Okay. So let's stay with the first question. The question was, the idea may be great, and then how execution that? And you said it's because of your track record.
Yes, so that's number one.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I want to deal with that.
Okay.
So you, as one person,
yes,
does not necessarily translate into the team that you work with.
Yes.
Okay, so you were trade minister,
and
you say you did extremely well as trade minister.
Yeah, but that's the record is there.
It can be debated. No,
but it's there.
I think the question people are asking is where are the people who execute this? What is their proven track record? Because as you've admitted, it's not the quality of the idea alone. It's the people who drive the idea. And you as president will not be the one implementing all these things.
No, but
because you have people who will be doing it.
But Bernard, I said it starts with leadership.
Fair enough.
No, but it's not.
Bernard,
it's not a question of fair enough. It's very important because you want to know the elements.
But
so I'm saying that the first is leadership.
Yes.
The second is building a team.
Good.
A team that understands not just the idea, but what it takes to execute.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so if I didn't build a team, how could I have worked on these PSIs and the district industrialization program? But I cannot account for what happened after that. So I'm submitting to you and putting it to you that it was not just my leadership. It was also the team that I built around that. Everybody who has tracked my performance will tell you that both under President Kufuor and under President Kufuor, in my ministry, I demobilize the structure. There's no director, there's nothing. I create project teams. I've changed the face of the civil service structure. I create project teams. So at that time, under Kufuor, there was a project team specifically for industrial starch, a project team for garments and textiles. So they don't behave like civil servants. They behave like project managers. That's what I do. So when you're talking about a team, it's not just Alan. I bring the idea, but I create the institutional structures to deliver and execute. That's why I'm so successful, because I can get so many things done at the same time.
Did you use that same approach in your second tenure?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so you say that when
you ask
under your tenure in the Ministry of Trade, I didn't see director of implementation those things.
If you look at the civil service law, the structure, there are only 4 divisions that by law are required. I think finance and administration, HR, and then policy planning 4. Apart from that, there is no requirement on the part of any minister to do ABCD. So in my case, and my record is there, I restructure whether it was during Kufuor's time and I hope that people will learn from what I've done. I create project teams. So for example, under Kufuor, everybody belongs to a project team. One district, one factory, there's a project team. Strategic anchor industry, there's a project team. Vehicle assembly plant, there's a project team. So that the execution is efficient and effective. So that's the second point.
So leadership,
the leadership and the team. And also the programming of the idea. So for example, I have been saying that the reason why respectfully I'm different from my other competitors and the parties is that they are focusing on the manifestos. Manifestos are a catalog of promises. I have put forward a plan, and the difference between a manifesto promise and a plan is that in a plan you are able to program and tell you how the promise will be delivered. That's the difference. So it's not just the leadership, it's not just the team, but it's also the programming of the ideas. So, for example, if I say, as I've done in my gospel, in my Bible, if I say that I will reduce inflation, in the manifesto, that's just a promise. In my plan, I tell you exactly how I will reduce inflation. So if I come into power, within a matter of months, the execution framework is already there. It's programmed.
But you've been campaigning now for a few months.
But why is that when you ask me a question and I answer, it's all fair enough?
Yes,
you have to say that, and I understand.
No.
Where you go? I'm just teasing you.
we have.
I'm teasing you. I understand. Yes, okay.
Yes, so it's a quarter past the hour. My guest is the leader of the Movement for Change, Alan Kyerematen, who has launched his GTP, Great Transformation Plan. It's a yellow document which talks about growth, resilience, and prosperity, stability, all for Ghana. You've been campaigning for a few months, and the reason I'm probing about the people is the challenge is that there's a loss of confidence in politics and politicians.
No, you're 100%
so
correct.
If you say it's leadership, fair enough for you. But in your campaigning, have other people come along to say they believe you? Who can you show us said, I support Alan, and therefore we are not just a small group of noise makers, but we actually mean business. And we have the men, especially because as an independent candidate, you don't have MPs. Again, when you look at the posters, most of your opponents will put a candidate and his MP in an area. So he's basically projecting who I'm bringing. You are not doing that. So who are your people?
So let me use your own phrase now. Fair enough. So, Bernard, now the first thing is about the whole concept of an independent candidate. You know, what I'm bringing to the political space in Ghana is something that is not just innovative, but that's what is going to change our politics in Ghana. So what I'm saying is that, number one, our biggest challenge in Ghana right now is not the economic crisis. The economic crisis is a symptom of a deeper problem. And what is that deeper problem? Is the divisiveness and the polarization of politics in Ghana. Ghana is now divided along the line. Everything has been politicized. How can you sustain development in a country when the whole country is divided? So I'm saying the philosophy and the architecture, the new architecture of politics that I'm bringing, I'm saying that what we have now is not sustainable. We have to go beyond the NDC, NPP fight and have an individual who is elected as president on his own merit, and he can bring the country together. So the critical component of what I'm bringing to the table now is uniting Ghana. And that is the only way we can move forward. That's number one. Number two, I'm also saying that now, if I am coming as an independent candidate, it means that I can bring not just people together, but I will create a government of national unity. And if you create a government of national unity, it means that you are going beyond politicians. Apart from bringing people from the political parties, you are also harnessing the collective strength of all Ghana. How is it that in a country when we have so much talent, we are saying that if you are not a frontline member of either NDC or MPP, you cannot contribute to our governance? For me, it doesn't make sense. So it's not just standing as an independent candidate to bring the country together, which I think is the biggest challenge. That's what we need, to bring the country together and stop this divisiveness. But number two, it's also to have a more inclusive governance architecture and bring the collective strength of Ghana, of Ghanaians, both at home and abroad, to contribute to the project. So when somebody asks, how are you going to get your ministers? But that is very simple. I'm saying that I will pick ministers from the two parties in parliament.
You will pick ministers from the two parties in parliament. Or the parties in parliament.
The parties in parliament, and then independent candidates. or any other party, because we haven't gone into the election now.
Yeah.
There are other political parties who may be represented in parliament. So I will pick ministers from the parties that are represented in parliament. But in addition to that, there may be independent candidates also in parliament. And I also have the flexibility to pick from them. So what is the problem with that? I mean, people
the problem with that is
yeah,
that
yeah.
the frustrations with the two leading parties,
Yeah.
who generally would, based on the record, have dominated parliament.
Yeah.
So are you going to pick your ministers from, because don't forget the constitution already asks you to pick at least half of them.
Yes, at least, yes.
So you're going to pick half of your ministers
from NDC and then NPP. What?
That a lot of people who may support you are tired of.
Okay, I understand.
People are not just tired of the presidential candidate, they are also tired of their leaders. So you're going to pick your ministers from the same branch?
But Bernard, I'm picking them not because they are NDC or NPP. I'm picking them on the basis of their own individual merits. It's just that they are in parliament, and I'm required by the constitution to pick at least half from the parliament. And I'm saying that as an independent, I have become president not on the strength of any party. I'm there because of my own capacity and capability. Now I'm required by the constitution to pick
half
X number. Yes, and I'm saying that there are parties that are represented there. I am selecting them from any of the parties on the basis of their individual capabilities.
So have you identified any people within
there are many of them,
that you can work with?
The reason why I mean, in all humility, even at the risk of sounding a bit boastful, I'm the president that Ghana needs at this time. Because when you have a divided country, you need somebody who has endeared himself to all kinds of people from different political persuasions. So whether it is NDC or MPP, even now that I left MPP, I can tell you, the majority of the rank and file of MPP, they will still prefer me as president. They still love me. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, because they know. You see, because they know the contribution I've made, not only to the formation of the NPP, but it's not even about that, because I don't have a problem with the rank and file of the NPP. The problem I had, and I came out and I made it clear, it's just with a few people, the leadership, there's some few people at the top of the MP. But that's not even the point. I am saying that even the rank and file, the majority of them know my worth, and they know that if I am president, their lives will be better off than any other person. And it's the same thing with NDC.
I get it. So you're going to choose
my ministers,
at least half of them from the parties in parliament, which will definitely include NDC and MPP. And you deliberately make sure there's a mix.
Yes,
so you have NDC and MPP ministers
and
as an independent president.
And any other parties that may come into parliament, and then also, but it will be based on their own capacity.
But what if they say they don't want it?
What
if the MPP members of parliament say they don't want to?
No, but let's be real. Look. So if, for example, you are representing NPP or NDC in parliament, now because at that point, if the election is over, Alan is president. Now you say you are in parliament because you want to contribute to the development of the country, and you are selected, and you are saying that.
So you don't see a problem there; they will accept it.
Look, people will rush. You see, because like I'm saying, it depends on the type of person who is now the independent president. But I'm even going to suggest that, look, apart from this effort that I'm making to become the first independent candidate to become president, in terms of our governance architecture, we have to look at this model very well. Because you see, if you look at Benin, do you know that Benin, for 2 consecutive terms, they've had an independent presidential candidate who became president. And Benin is going through the most transformational period.
But do they have the same entrenched
yes. It was even worse than ours. President Keku and all those
things. But the history in Ghana shows that the two parties are actually getting stronger.
So,
if I show you, of course, history is not the best. But history is a guide.
They are not getting stronger.
No, they are.
They are getting weaker.
No,
I will challenge you on that
I will
one.
show you this. There's a chart I can show you on,
Okay.
on my computer.
Okay.
Where between 1992
Yes.
to 2020, the percentage of votes gotten by parties other than NDC and MPP has reduced from 10% to less than 2%.
But I'll explain
that's number one.
Okay.
Number two,
Okay.
even parliamentary-wise, now it's purely just one independent. Whereas under the first, there were few. So my point
but I'll explain to you. But I'll explain to you. No, it's a misunderstanding. I don't want to say misrepresentation. It's a misunderstanding of what has been happening in the political. But just also to give you, it's not just Africa. Do you know that the most successful president of all times in the United States, George Washington, 2 terms that he was in office, he was an independent candidate. Well, George Washington, in the, I would say, in the headquarters of democracy.
Over hundreds of years ago.
Yes, George Washington, and he won against the duopoly at that time. Because there was this fight.
US today, an independent candidate.
No, but
based on their French duopoly.
I'm just telling you that we also have to learn, but they can also learn. You don't know that right now they have that problem itself with the duopoly. So does it serve the cause of any country to have a monopoly of power by a duopoly?
No, we don't support that. I'm just showing you what the facts are and asking you how you intend to append those.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So you were talking about the historical trend. I'm telling you that, look, what we have now, the situation that we found ourselves in over the past is because there was no viable alternative. And I'll explain to you. There's never been any viable alternative to this duopoly. And that's why you are now working through the trend. That trend has arisen only because there was no viable alternative. When people start talking about, Mr. A tried as an independent candidate, Mr. B tried as an try and check those people. These were, understandably excellent people. But the difference is that I am coming out of a dominant party. And I'm coming out of a dominant party also as a dominant figure in Ghanaian politics. That's number one. So the circumstances are not the same. You see, just try and understand what I'm saying. I've been minister in Kufuor's government with a distinguished record. I've been minister in a Kufuor's record with government with a distinguished record. Outside government, I have a distinguished record. I created the whole AFTA program initiative. Now, so all I'm saying is that you are comparing apples with oranges. Please don't get me wrong. It is not to devalue. It's not to devalue the capacity of these people. I'm saying it's different because I have been in government. All the people that you're talking, fine. They may have been coming from dominant parties. I'm saying that my record at this time, over the years, puts the political equation in a completely different light. Look, and I will say this again at the risk of sounding boastful. On the ballot paper, you find ex-President Mahama, you find Dr. Bawumia, you find Alan Kyerematen. When people start comparing, because you are voting for individuals, now you find in the long run, these are the people you are voting for. In terms of vision, in terms of competence, in terms of integrity, in terms of the record of execution, the verdict will be very clear. And that's exactly what is going to happen.
I hear you. You see, what I want to ask you is, you're saying it will be different because of your track record.
Yeah.
We've had these so-called smaller political parties not doing well, and the facts I have pointed out. You say you don't agree, but the facts are there. They speak for themselves. The two leading parties have increased their collective percentage to close to 98%. So the question is, if you are that viable candidate, we need to start seeing CPP,
yeah,
PNC, PPP,
yeah,
IPP,
yeah.
saying that, well, this man is what he says he is.
Yes.
So where is the testimony of that? Because you are saying you are new, you are different.
Yes.
So within the 8 or so months you've been campaigning,
Yeah.
we should have seen some coalition.
And it's happening.
Is it?
It's already happening. Let me explain to
Okay,
you.
show me.
I started only a few months ago.
Mm.
Now, for the first time in the history of Ghana, I've been able to mobilize 9 new political entities into an alliance, into a coalition, which is the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. And it hasn't happened in our country before.
9 new political entities. I think you choose your words carefully.
Oh, yes. Some are political parties, some are...
Can you name some of them?
Oh, we have the National Interest Movement, led by Abu Sakara. Remember, Abu Sakara has been presidential candidate of CPP. He has been a vice presidential candidate.
Known entities?
Oh, but you don't know Abu Sakara?
No,
I'm just saying one.
I know him.
Yeah, but I'm saying, yeah. So I'm saying you have NIM.
Yeah.
Then you have they call it Ghana First Coalition.
Ghana First Coalition.
Yeah, led by Bishop Stephen Mensah. Now, he has been campaigning for a very long time about going beyond this duopoly. We have Odike. Odike was founder and leader of the UFP. Now he's transitioned to the union government. That's how he calls his party. Now we have the Ghana National Party. We have the Third Force movement. You know, so we have 9 different political entities. You don't need to be a political
party. They have all
party.
come out to say that.
Not that they have come out. We have formed an alliance. We have launched the alliance called the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. And the reason why it is a first in our country, all these previous efforts at alliances, whether it was the Great Alliance, Progressive Alliance, they never stood the test of time. In our case, within a matter of 1 month, all these different political entities were able to coalesce around the movement for change. And the reason why it has become something that will change the dynamics of our country. Again, for the first time, all these 9 other parties, apart from the movement or entities, agreed that Alan should become their leader. So
I don't discount the significance of that.
Yeah.
But the question I have is, of the names you've mentioned, only Odike has actually stood as a political party or run for anything. So these are...
But what about Abu Sakara?
No, I'm talking about the movement that they represent. So Odike's party we know.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that there are existing parties like the PNC,
yes,
CPP, the PPP that if you are the person that will be seen as the alternative, then there's Ayariga's group, there's what's the name of this guy?
Liberal and then Gumia.
Yes. Don't you think it will be more substantive if those people come on board, because they are the ones who have run for president before?
No, I want to correct that impression, and I do so very respectfully. Don't start comparing the strength of political entities based on the fact that this man has run as president before. No, I think it will be wrong.
You have an organization.
You have an organization. They've campaigned before, and you have to look at the individuals. Let's look at the individuals. The fact that somebody has got a provisional license and has campaigned before as president, does that automatically make him better than somebody who has a political movement? Movements come about because they are pursuing a certain cause. And I'm saying that try and audit the background and performance of these other entities. But be that as it may, the fact that all of us have agreed to come together in an alliance to fight the general election is in itself a very significant development. And do you know why we were able to do that seamlessly? It's because all of us realized that we are talking about the same thing. First, we were talking about going beyond the duopoly, the NDC and MPP. Second, we are talking about going beyond this winner takes all syndrome, lack of continuity of government projects. We were all talking about the need for constitutional reforms. We were talking about the need to go beyond manifestos and to have a plan.
Are there discussions with other groups beyond the 9?
Oh yes, very much so. I mean,
anything to report around
the
party?
When you haven't consolidated a discussion, maybe it's not appropriate to. But I have very close relationships with Dr. Indom, personally, and with his organization. I have very close relationship with the CPP. I mean, as an entity, I have very close relationship with the PNC. Right now, the second vice chairman and the current chairman of PNC, they've been campaigning with us openly.
The second vice chairman?
That's Henry Asante. You know him. And Henry Asante and Bala.
They are campaigning with you?
Oh yes, they're openly. It's not that they are hiding.
The registration drive, is there a way in which you can test beyond? Because as I said, on the markets, are people registering? Do you have members?
We have a very robust and powerful volunteer corps. I don't even want to shock you, but the reason why we are confident, the reason why we are confident about this is that, look, we have mobilized volunteers who are 3 times the number of the registered, I would say the executives of the 2 dominant parties.
Really?
I'm telling you. You see,
so in all 275 constituencies,
volunteers who on their own. This is not the typical thing where I made it clear.
So you're not going to do like offices or stuff like. You're not going to set up party offices.
No, but we have representation in every constituency. Every constituency.
So is there
and also
to find you?
Yes, and
I'll see the butterfly, or what will be there.
You, of course, the alliance and the butterfly, because so we agreed in the alliance that each alliance partner will keep the identity.
Okay.
But so
if I see,
it's not a merger.
If I see Ghana Freedom Movement somewhere,
it's the same
still
thing.
You.
Yes.
So they are not changing their insignia to you.
Yes, no, they are
saying you will be their candidate.
Yes, and then also we work together. We fight the election together as one.
So just to be clear, so
it's not a merger.
So your agent at the polling station,
yes, could either be coming from the Movement for Change, or let's say from the NIM,
but they will come under the alliance.
Or under the alliance. But you see, because I'm coming
as an independent,
it's the Movement for Change.
I get you. So it means that
the butterfly, the alliance
will not be a political party.
No.
So it's an alliance around an independent candidate.
Yes, it's an alliance around because they've all endorsed my candidature. So they are supporting the candidature of Alan Kyerematen, who will be on the ballot paper representing the Movement for Change. And then also my symbol is Afafranto. My symbol is Afafranto. But if I can make a quick point, I think it's a very important question that you raised about, so how extensive is our support base? Do you know that the NPP, because I've been a founding member of them, the NPP does not have more than 1 million registered members. They've never had that.
You sure?
Oh, but it's clear. I mean, even the number of executives within NPP, those that you can commit that at all costs they will vote for NPP, the executive, there are only 210,000 people.
This includes the polling station?
Polling station executive, all the way to national. There are only 210,000. Now, if you...
So the party doesn't have more than 1 million registered
card-bearing members.
What about NDC?
NDC, I'm not sure. I don't want to make hazard a guess. But I suspect it will be around the same thing. Now, these are the people who you can bet that at all costs they will vote for NDC or MPP. Let me use MPP. At all costs they will vote for MPP because they are committed. Now, I can tell you that is the only base that they can count on. Now, if you decide that you even add 2 billion people to them, it only comes up to 3 million for either party. And NPP, the only group they can count on is not more than 3 million people. Now, but I just want to explain something to you. So you would ask me, let's use the 2020 electoral statistics because we don't have 2024 statistics. There were 17 million registered voters. 17 million registered voters. Now, NPP in 2020 got, let's say, about 6.5 million. So you'd ask me, But so how come did they get 6.5 million if there's no way that they can have more than 3 million hardcore supporters, not even registered members, supporters. Now, that difference between the 6.5 and the 3 million, they are all sympathizers. They vote for NPP or NDC only because there's no alternative. There's no alternative. Because if, let's say Bernard Avle, you are not committed, but you still want to vote, and you come election day, you have only NDC or NPP, and you want to vote, you vote for either of them. But you are not fully committed to them. If there's an alternative, you consider the alternative. So what I'm saying is that out of the 17 million registered voters in 2020, if you take 80% of the 80% turnout, and you get about 13 million people who actually voted, that 13 million, even if you gave MPP 3 million and NDC 3 million, that's only 6 million.
So there's 7 million left.
There's 7 million left. Who are the people? That 7 million, I can tell you, they are the people who matter. They are the people who matter. And do you know where it's coming from? Those aged between 18 and 35. Because out of the 17 million who are registered voters, almost 10 million, 9.7 million, are aged between 18 and 35. People have not worked out the numbers. So that's why NPP and DC think that, oh, we have 40%. You don't have any 40%. You don't have that 40%. And they themselves know they don't have any.
I think that only half of the people who vote for the two parties actually are like hardcore voters for them.
Hardcore.
So
it will not go beyond that.
Are sympathizers or people who vote based on.
And because there's no alternative.
So that's your.
That is my constituency. So and
but
that,
you know
that,
who these people are? How do you know who they? Where do we find them?
But I've explained to you that the difference is that if they were
so you give me an age demographic. What I'm asking is, do you have like also their demographic
absolutely
characteristics?
But I'm not coming to this. I'm not coming to tell you on open air now about. But you see, in my case, there's no village in Ghana where Alan will not be recognized either by face or by name. It's either Alan Cash, they know me just by the sound of my name or by my face. There's none of the two candidates has that level of penetration in a country. I'm saying this in all humility. Yes, but you see, look, remember. Look, I've been around. I'm talking about my own. I don't want. Yeah, I'm saying that there's no.
Them has the same level of recognition as you.
And penetration. That's what I'm saying.
But that's debatable.
Well, but every time I'm talking about my own assessment. I'm talking about my own assessment. You see, because the point is that in MPP, when you run for primaries, it's only a small group of people who. But when finally you go for the general election, remember, there's no election that Nana, the current president, has been to in terms of general election, where you will not find Alan standing side by side with him. Nowhere. And on the ground, they love Alan because somehow, and you know, there's also some spirituality about you are laughing.
I'm smiling.
You're smiling. You see, there's a spirituality about leadership. There's a spirituality about, when people say that, oh, it is God who makes kings and things like that. Yeah. It is real. It is real. And that's why I have bid my time.
So you think this is the time?
This is the time. And that's why I've never been worried. I've never been worried because never before in the history of our country has there been a compelling case for somebody who is different, an independent candidate. Never in our history. So you cannot compare those other elections where you say, oh, but this man's too, they can. But this time, it has become clear. Look, I've been around the country. 70 to 80% of people say that they are tied with both NDC or NPP and that they will not vote. But that if Alan is serious about coming, then they will change their mind. All they need is for Alan to show up. Like I'm saying, Hey, my brother, now you say you're Spanish. No, this not no, but I'm telling you, for me, it's something that I believe in, and also it's by God's grace. It's by God's grace, and also my track record is strong. I keep on telling people, if you are contesting on the basis of your political record, then frankly, that's not enough. What is it that you have done before coming into politics that makes you?
I'll just say
no, it's not fair enough, because I want to say this before we move on.
We are ending. I'm just
okay. All right.
Generally, in the past, most elections have been run on the track record of the organization that presents the person.
Yes.
So this will be the first time that if you were to win, it will be the first time that the person is talking about his credentials as a person.
Yes.
Because usually, for example,
I understand.
will tell you about what they've done as a party.
Yes.
Led by Muhammad Omil.
Yes.
Same for MPP. So what I'm saying is that means that the scope of what they have to do will be more than yours.
Yeah. No, but is it right? I mean, you've been a very distinguished political and economic analyst. Is it right that this must be the basis for selecting our leaders? That and that's where the arrogance of power comes in. That people feel that anybody you put there, because exactly as you are saying, if there's a political organization behind them, is that in your own?
No, I'm talking about the organization's track record of achievement.
No, I'm saying that, but is that appropriate? Because you see, all the great nations of this world have attained greatness not on the back of the political parties. All the great, look, Singapore, when we talk about Singapore, you ever hear about the party Singapore? You hear about Lee Kuan Yew. When we talk about China, Mao Zedong was the founder of modern China. But when you talk about what transformed China into the most powerful economy, second most powerful economy, it's not about the Communist Party. It's about Deng Xiaoping. He made the difference. So it's about leadership. What is happening now is about leadership.
Let's read a few questions for you.
Who can make the next big stride? What you need is a transformational leader now.
We don't need strong personalities. We need strong institutions.
Well,
when Obama said that, we all agreed with him. So you are flipping that coin.
I'm not flipping that coin. What was the context within which Obama made that? So it's only no. But you see, people just quote this and then they use it for their argument. No, but the fact that he said it, you must appreciate the context within which because he was talking about leaders trying to stay in office beyond their term. That's what he was talking about.
The emphasis of change. The emphasis. He was saying that to build a sustainable democracy, you need to build strong institutions and not emphasize strong leaders.
But you need both. They are not mutually exclusive. They are not mutual. Are you telling me that once you have the institutions, then the leadership does not matter? No, you cannot say that. And we should not just take what Obama said on the surface. You need, and when we talk about strong leaders, he was talking about the type of leaders.
This is why I keep asking about the organization. Around you.
I have a strong organization.
Fair enough.
And
let me read some questions for you before we wrap up. Please tell him to consider making Papa Kwesindum his running mate. You are laughing now. You said I was laughing. Now you are laughing.
I'm smiling.
Hello, better than team. I like Alan's policy, but I won't vote for him simply for the fact that he will select parliamentarians from both NDC and MPP. They are the reason we are where we are now. We need a hard reset. Simple. You don't add your name. Good morning, Bernard. Please ask Alan what will be his action of prosecution of corrupt politicians who have misappropriated public funds. I'm one of his leaders of constituency volunteers, and we are working from Joe from Teshi. Thank you. Good morning, City. Please ask him how he's going to deal with the Galamsey menace. Good morning. Please ask Alan about the possibility of being sabotaged if he picks NDC and MPP members as ministers. So that keeps coming. Good morning. I have two questions for Alan. What is his stance on the election of MMDCEs? And how does he plan to ensure that only qualified individuals are appointed to head state-owned institutions? Second question, how does he intend to ensure that people with disabilities are represented at the highest levels of decision-making? Since the questions are a lot, I would read through many of them, and then you may want to pick some of them that that hits you. Hello, Bernard and team. My only suggestion for Alan is to employ the service of national service personnel to engage in agriculture. It's the way to go. Increase the allowance for those who work on farms. We need to produce more agro foods than we can consume so that the surplus will be industrialized. That will be a better place with agriculture. Good morning, Bernard. Please ask Jack. Oh, so you are Jack. Oh, Jack with a double K. Okay, John Alan Kyerematen.
Yes.
Jack resurrected. How will he make the municipal and local government agencies work? Because I feel once the system is working from the bottom, there will be less dependency on the central government, which will free them to properly think and implement big policies. Also, how will he tackle corruption in the very small things we partake in every day? Ensure all cars are roadworthy, ensure assemblies are fixing their roads in real time. All right, so let me read this way. There are two questions around local governance on voting for MMDCs and letting development come from bottom up.
Yes.
Two questions on corruption, prosecuting corrupt officials and dealing with corruption.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to touch those briefly?
Yeah. Before I go on, I think I need to make this clarification.
Okay.
Because I've seen this coming up even from the questions. The Constitution provides that at least half of ministers must be selected from Parliament. It doesn't mean all ministers.
Yes.
So when I talk about selecting ministers from either the NDC or MPP or independent candidates who are represented in Parliament, remember, it's only half. It's only half the number. The other half will be Ghanaians who have nothing to do with the political parties. I think we shouldn't be thinking about the fact that, so
all these ministers will be from the
No, it's only, and just to add that part of the constitutional reforms that I would advocate for is the change and amendment of the Constitution in respect of this requirement of selecting half of your ministers even from
So we
Parliament.
have 10 minutes. What I'm going to ask specific questions on some of the topics raised and maybe 1 or 2 line answers to help. You can elaborate later. So, for example, do you believe in voting for MMDCEs?
Yes, it's already part of the constitutional reforms. It's all in the GTP that I will make a strong representation for MMDCEs to be.
Do you agree with those who say we should abolish ex gratia and Article 71 should be scrapped or reviewed?
Yes, I've already made that representation. And it's very obvious that it's not just because people have been pushing for this, but that is the only sustainable way of ensuring that you have a sense of fairness and an equitable basis for the determination.
How do you intend to deal with corruption in relation to institutions like the Attorney General, Minister of Justice versus OSP? Any thoughts on your comments on corruption?
Unfortunately, we didn't get the chance to go through the GTP. But on corruption, I've made very powerful recommendations. Number one, beyond personal leadership and political will, I have said that we have to create a new office of, I call it the anti-corruption czar, meaning anti-corruption overlord. The reason why I'm saying this, to replace the special prosecutor, the reason why I'm saying that, if you look at the existing laws that are supposed to deal with corruption, they are scattered all over the place. Yoko pretends that they are dealing with corruption. The special prosecutor is dealing with corruption. Siraj is dealing with corruption. There's so much confusion, even in legislation. So my proposal is that we consolidate all the existing corruption-related legislation and create one enabling legislation under which a new overlord will be.
Would you decouple the Attorney General for Minister of Justice?
No, I'm not decoupled, but the prosecutorial authority of the Attorney General now will be limited only to the extent that it will not affect the authority of the anti-corruption overlord. Because you see, right now, the special prosecutor derives his authority from the Attorney General. And that presents a problem. So we will decouple that from...
These questions are not for elaboration.
No, I understand.
So I just want to give you some bullet points.
Okay.
You said you established a fixed exchange rate regime for import duty payments. Can you explain what that means?
Yes, so when you import goods, let's say at the time that you import bag of rice. The exchange rate is 13 cedis to $1. If by the time the bag of rice arrives, the exchange rate has depreciated, or let's say the cedi has depreciated to $16 to them. Now, in calculating the duty that you have to pay, they will use the prevailing exchange rate.
Not the 16.
They will use the 16.
So that's what they do now.
That's what they do now, and I'm saying that it doesn't make
fair.
sense.
So you use the duty at the rate at the time I did the purchase.
And so we'll fix it for a 6-month period, so that there is consistency over a certain period.
And this is just for the port operations.
This is for the port operations.
Not necessarily running a fixed exchange rate.
No.
I think that's very important.
Because that's, and also that is only for the calculation of duty.
Okay, because we run a flexible with a bit of control.
Yes. But so
you're not going to change that.
So no, but I'll come to that. So that the first one is in respect of how you calculate duty.
Yes.
We'll fix it for a period of 6 months, just to provide certainty, and also to avoid imported inflation, because that's part of the problem. But the second one, which is different from what we are just discussing, is fixing the exchange rate below the prevailing market rate for strategic commodities. And what I mean is that there are some commodities that, for now, as a country, we have no choice but to import. Crude oil products, petroleum products, essential medicines, even cement. There is a component of cement, the largest component, raw material, clinker, is imported. So these are strategic commodities that affect the prices of these commodities, affect the entire economy. So if we allow this depreciation of the cedi to affect the prices of these commodities, we'll always be in trouble because of the multiplier effect of these commodities on the market. So the second proposal is that we'll have a second window, a second forex window for strategic commodities, only for strategic commodities. So, for example, if we consider that petroleum product is a strategic commodity, then even when the cedi depreciates, the Bank of Ghana, working with the Ministry of Finance, will determine the price or the rate at which we should fix a duty for the importation of these strategic.
Whilst we have a flexible exchange rate regime, there will be fixed for specific products.
For specific products, because of their impact on the economy.
That's going to be interesting. We can discuss that in a different program.
Yes.
So, 2 questions came around your plan. A couple of people want me to ask you, and I think I need to read it so you don't.
Okay.
Bernard, ask Alan the number of those entities he has aligned with. You asked already. Is he contesting because he wants MPP and Baumia to lose? Because some of his spokespersons speak stressing openly that they want that MPP will lose. This is a question that came in for you.
But I don't know on what basis he's asking that question, because if say somebody is asking or making representations to the fact that we want MPP to lose, then it's very unfortunate. I am not in this to become a kingmaker. I'm in this to contest to become president. And so the issue of contesting so that somebody loses, that's not right. That's why I was giving you the arithmetic, the political equation. You know, people have not.
That. Yeah, in the case of a runoff, what do you do?
No, in the case of runoff, I'll still win. And that's exactly that is what is going to.
What if you are not in the top 2?
Well, that's why I'm saying that I've done on my own calculation. If it goes into a runoff, I will still have the leverage. I'll have the benefit, because, as I said, I will be able to pull either whichever.
I'm saying, but in case of a runoff that you are not in the top 2, what will you do?
Well, we'll cross that bridge.
But at least you've thought about it, haven't you?
No, but the point is that I don't operate along those lines. I'm in this race because I know.
Scenario planning, right?
No, it's scenario planning.
We all hope to win, but we hope for the best. Yes. We also plan for the worst.
So
that's how we do it.
But Bernard, what I'm saying is that I have a plan, and I've given you a sense of why I think.
No, that's I'm just asking if in the case of a runoff, who will you support?
Well, no, I don't think that's that's a question on the table now.
You won't answer.
No, it's not a question on the table. Once he gets into a runoff, I mean, by the grace of God, I'll be the preferred candidate. Yes, even in a runoff.
Do you support the?
But can I make a point about this? You see, there's a lot of propaganda. Oh, Alan is the best candidate, and people know that I'm the right candidate for the country at this time. People know. There's no doubt about that. But there's a propaganda. Oh, but Alan, can he win as an investment? You see, because people are not looking at the numbers, and that's why I took my time to explain to you. The circumstances that we have in this country right now make it different from any other time. So it will be different. And of course, this is all with God's blessings. Yes.
Do you support the LI that the man who took over from you is laid before Parliament, Katie Hammond?
Yeah, my advice would be that he should start with an administrative regulation. Because you see, the point is that there's always been an established process of consultation. And I know Katie, if you take my advice, and you know, he has a way of getting people to work with him, you know. So I don't doubt that he can get some consensus. And if he can get that consensus, because there's an established body, and I'm sure Katie can engineer that consensus. If that consensus is engineered, then we don't necessarily move to the extent of legalized price control. Because when we start getting into legalized price control, it has its own implications. But you can achieve the same result with consultation and administrative regulation. Yeah.
We wish you well. I'm sure we'll talk soon. Thank you for talking to us, Alan Kyerematen. JAKK. So this is the text that the name a text I brought. John Alan Kyerematen.
Thank you very much, Bernard. And let me end by this note that for the first time in Ghana, by the grace of God, the first independent presidential candidate will become president. And in Netherlands right now, we have an independent candidate who is prime minister.
Let me use your favorite word, fair enough.
Is that your favorite?
No, that's what you've got from me.
That's what I borrowed from you, fair enough. So thank you very much, brother, as always.
Thank you.